Emily here, your Harvest Market dietitian, and I am back this week with another meal kit recipe. So I'm really excited to share this one with you. It might be one of my very favorite ways to prepare salmon. It is delicious. Even if you didn't get the salmon option, if you got chicken, it is equally as delicious. So I'm making my Panko and herb crusted salmon with dijon and chicken. So I'm actually doing the half and half, where I have one fillet of salmon and one portion of chicken breast. So offering up two different protein options for you, because I know not all folks like salmon. So, okay, couple things that you're gonna need to get started. This comes together really fast. The active prep is short. So really the longest time is in the oven. We're gonna cook this lower and slower so that the proteins cook really well. They don't overcook, they remain moist, and our topping doesn't burn. So that's the key here. Okay, so what I have is I have my sheet pan prepared. I really love to use parchment paper when I'm cooking these items, especially salmon, because the parchment allows the stuff to not stick, which is great. And it prevents it from really like burning at the bottom, which is also great. So parchment is not just for baking, it is for cooking as well. So I have that, and you notice I left a space on the other side. So I am going to be doing the optional add-on of the green beans here. So I'm leaving some space so that everything can roast on the sheet pan together, and this is all I have. To really clean up. There's no pots or pans or anything like that, which is fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to kind of set this close to me because I'm going to be working with it a bit. So let me just readjust myself here. Okay, and my other items that I have here, we have our panko and parm mixture in here. Ta-da! And then we have our dijon mixture here. We have some olive oil, some seasoning, and then some seasoning also for the green beans as well. And we've got our fresh herbs. So we're just gonna go ahead and get this started. Again, I'm gonna put this kind of close to me so that I can work with this easily. Okay, roll up our sleeves and we'll get going here. So the first things first, you have your seasoning. We're gonna season the salmon and chicken first. I'm using a Cavender's Greek seasoning. It's my favorite all-purpose seasoning blend. It has salt and pepper and other spices and herbs in it, so it's kind of a one-stop shop as far as seasonings go, so I don't have to add a whole bunch of stuff. It's really delicious. So I'm just gonna sprinkle this. You can also flip over your salmon or chicken and season the other side if you want to. We're gonna season this really well. Just divvy it up between the 2 or the 4, depending on how much you got. Okay, next what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our crusty, crunchy topping. So in here we have the panko and Parmesan cheese, and I'm gonna empty this into a bigger bowl because we're gonna be adding some things to it. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna chop up all of my fresh herbs. So I have fresh parsley and basil here. I love the taste of this together in the panko. And because we're cooking it nice and slow and not at a super high temperature, our herbs aren't going to burn. So that's a risk you always take when cooking with fresh herbs, especially in the oven, is that they might burn a little bit, but not this way. We are going to be cooking nice and low and slow. So these herbs are just going to add such a great fresh pop of flavor. So make sure that we do mince really small here, because we want it to just kind of mix really well with all those little bits of panko, and we want every bite to have some of the fresh herbs in there. Okay, so ready in here. So we're just gonna plop that right into our dish. Next up, we're going to add the lemon zest. So I accidentally cut my lemon in half, but you'll get a whole lemon or 2 whole lemons, but we're gonna zest for a 2-person. We are going to zest a half of a lemon. You don't have to cut your lemon in half. I just did. I have 2 halves here. It's much easier to zest when you have a whole entire lemon. But this is, oh my gosh, folks, this is it. This is the flavor right here. We're getting all that zest, all that lemony flavor. Oh my gosh, it pairs so beautifully with all the fresh herbs in there. It's just lovely. This is a great, great, great topping. Okay, so we're gonna do the zest of half a lemon for a 2-person kit. And if you have a 4-person, you're gonna zest the entire thing. And we're not gonna put any juice in here because I don't want it to get watery or too liquidy. We're gonna save the juice for serving. I'm gonna use some of the juice. If you got green beans, I'm gonna use some of that on the green beans. Okay, here we go. Last thing is our olive oil going right in. And this is just, it is going to toast it up. We're gonna have toasty, crispy, cheesy panko goodness. It is just so, so delicious. Okay, so I forgot to mention in the beginning, you're gonna have your oven preheating. This beginning process doesn't take long at all, so make sure that your oven is preheating. 335. I tested it at multiple different, it might sound like a really random number, but 325 is just not hot enough, and 350 is just a little too hot. So I went with 325 or 335 to 340, depending on your oven. If it runs a little, tends to run a little cooler, go ahead and bump it up to 40, but that is the temperature that we are looking for. It seems to cook it really, really well. And everything can cook all at the same time. So this is our panko crumb here. And I'm just going to open up this little cup of our Dijon mixture. And this is simply Dijon mustard and olive oil based mayo. And together they just make this beautiful, tangy, slightly sweet, creamy, awesome deliciousness that we are going to spread on top. And the great part about this, I'm going to scoot my cutting board over to the side here because we are done with it. The great part about using this mayo, and I use an olive oil based mayo because it has some healthy fats in there, so why not? And it's good, tastes yummy. So we are going to go ahead and start preparing our chicken and salmon for the oven. So the great part about this too is it keeps our proteins moist, and it allows the topping to stick really, really well. So it's not falling all over the place, which is awesome. So we're just gonna go ahead and kind of divide up this mixture between the two. If you have 4, you're gonna divide it up into 4 ways. And we are going to liberally kind of spread this across the top, just like so. It's kind of a soothing process, right? We're just gonna smooth, it just spreads really, really beautifully. Spread it all across the top here, because wherever we want our topping to stick, that's where we're gonna spread it to. Beautiful. Okay. So now, with clean hands, we're going to put on the topping. So I like to put on a lot of topping because this is full of flavor. You might have a little bit of topping left over. That's okay. You can always toss it with your green beans if you want to. But I like to spread this on pretty liberally. So don't be afraid to just put it all on here, because this flavor is just amazing. It tastes so, so good. So I'm gonna go ahead and lightly press down and just make sure that I got everything covered. It's okay if some falls off, no big deal. Okay, so now I'm going to, on the other side, place my green beans. If you got these, you can just place your green beans on the other side. If you don't have room on your sheet pan, you can simply get another smaller sheet pan just for your green beans. They'll roast at about the same time. I like my green beans a little bit, still have some texture, so I don't like them real mushy. So to me, they cook perfectly at the same time as everything else. If you want to cook them a little bit longer, you're more than welcome to do that as well. It's really per your preference. So little olive oil, and some of the Cavender's Greek seasoning again. Really simple seasoning for the green beans. We don't need a whole lot. Again, we're gonna use the rest of the lemon, or some of the lemon juice, I should say, to kind of season or flavor the green beans as soon as they come out of the oven. I like to give them a squeeze of fresh lemon juice as soon as they come out, and that just kind of seals the deal. So we're going to just kind of spread these guys out, just like so. Then we have our green beans and our salmon and our chicken ready for the oven. Again, we're gonna do 335 for about 25 minutes. So you might need to check your salmon and chicken. I like to check at about the 20-minute mark. At that point, again, go to the 25. If your oven runs a little bit cool, go bump it up to 30 minutes. I will be back in a bit. Okay, I just pulled this out of the oven. It smells so good. So I want you guys to see what this looks like. Look at that crispy, crunchy. I've got my green beans. Right away, I'm going to squeeze some of the lemon right on the top of the green beans, just like that. Now, if you want your green beans cooked a little bit longer, then just pop them back in the oven. We are going to let our chicken and salmon rest for 5 minutes on this sheet pan to finish up cooking. Don't cover it. We don't want the crispy, crunchy topping to get soggy, but we just kind of want the inside to finish. So again, if you want to do temperature, the temperature for your chicken should be between 160 and 165. So we say 165 as a precaution, but you can be between 160 and 165 and be totally safe. We want to hit that number because anything above that means that we're overcooking and we're really drying out. Now with the salmon, it's going to be cooked through, I promise you. But if you want to double check, after it's done resting for 5 minutes, you can kind of take a fork and just make sure that it flakes apart. If it flakes apart super easily, it's completely opaque in the middle, there's no pink, you're good to go. But really slow roasting for slow cooking for this long in the oven is going to yield really delicious, really flavorful, really moist, not dried out chicken or fish. So this is my sheet pan meal for this week. Thank you guys so much for cooking with me. I hope you enjoy this recipe. It's truly a good one. Again, it's one of my favorite ways to eat salmon. It's just so delicious. Again, thank you guys. Have a great one, and I'll see you next time.